relaxed enough to fall asleep now with us, which is really good news. So it means that we've gotten to that point where she's trusting of the fact that we're not doing anything untoward to her, and so she starts to sleep like this. It's only getting better then from there. It means that she's slowly starting to accept us around the little one and not worry too much. And even now that I'm talking, that she hasn't sat up and looked this way is a very good sign. But she's found herself a perfect spot to nap. She's kind of got a little pillow there. If you see, the bank goes up slightly, and she can put her head on that, and she can then take a break. It's been probably a very busy night and morning for her. The little one has been running around all over the place. She's chased a duiker. She's been back to the cub. She's, been on the lookout for things. And so it's tiring being a mom, and she's now just going to catch 40 winks quickly, and at least, like I say, that she's comfortable enough to do it with us is the best part about that whole thing. Right, now our leopard is very, very sleepy and taking it nice and easy. The little cub, I think, is quite sleepy too, so we'll be patient and see. Maybe we'll get one last view of that cub before the end of our morning. But while we do that, I believe Ralph's leopard is far more active and is up and moving, and hopefully we'll be able to get an idea on who it is now.
Thanks, Tristan. Very much different view than what we had a second ago. Just trying to catch up with her a little bit, and then I'll stop. There we go, everybody. Look at that. Wonderful. Now, she doesn't look as big as I thought when I first saw her, but that is now a wonderful sight. I'm going to try and get down a little bit closer, everyone, so that we can get a view. I don't want to disturb her, though, as she carries on her normal little morning walkabout. Coming here nice and slowly. For too much longer. Other side of it, which is off-road, could get a nice view of her here. Just as... Okay, there she is. Sorry about the little break-up in signal, folks. We are in a little bit of a dip, and that might be the last that we see of her. But we would have to go up again and see if she pops out on the other side. So this is a little bit of cat and mouse that we're playing here. Let's just see from the other side, maybe. Yes, she is still there. Maybe we can spot her from here. Just need to look for a nice spot to turn around so I can see her sticking her nose out. Just trying our best to get a view on her. I think she's now gone through onto the other side. Not that easy. Let's put my nose in here and see if we can spot her. If we can't, I'm not sure. I don't think we can see her through there, everyone. I might need to go back round onto the other side and have a look from there. It's amazing how quickly they disappear, hey? But I think she's just here near to this tree somewhere. I just need to look for that little white fleck of the tail. But she is on the move, and unfortunately gone onto the wrong side of the road where we're not allowed to off-road, but we maybe still get a view on her. So I'm just going to try and go back down along the river and get onto that side of the river, and at least we won't have this tree poking out in front of us. Okay, folks, while I just reposition and try and get another view on this beautiful female leopard here in the Mara, let's send you on over to Brent and see how he's getting on.
Well, we're with one of my favorite smaller creatures in the Mara, a business of banded mongoose. Oh, there's a little one at the back there you can just see. And they are definitely one of the busiest creatures out there during the day. Constantly on the move, digging up grubs and bugs and looking for ground nesting. Oh, there's 2 little ones. 3 little ones. Oh, lots of babies in this group. Here we go. Dig, 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 dig. Now, one of my favorite Afrikaans names for an animal is for the banded mongoose. It is called a Gebanda Meishond, a banded mouse dog. There we go. Banded mouse dogs being busy. Has that one got something there in the middle? Looks like he's next to a bit of dung. Oh no, it's a rock. Now they'll move rocks. They will dig under buffalo pats and elephant dung to try find dung beetle larvae. And they have a very varied diet. Small rodents, birds, eggs, baby ground nesting birds, whatever they can find. Oh, it's a stretch. Tim says they're shaped like skinny raccoons. Well, quite a bit smaller than a raccoon as well. But they are one of my favorite animals to watch because they are very, very busy. Now I'm just trying to see where they're heading. Are they going to go into the forest, or can we get a bit closer to them? I think we're going to be able to get a bit closer to them. Yes, looks like they're heading out towards... oh, there we go. Look at that. So they have multiple dens within their home range, and they will defend their home range against other businesses of mongoose. Now, this particular area will be a very, very popular area. It's a prime territory along the river. Okay, let's just move around quickly. Alyssa's wondering, will these mongoose eat snakes like other species of mongoose? Yes, they will. Quite often though, the smaller snake species they will definitely eat, but bigger species like mambas and cobras, they will normally just harass till they leave the area. But small mamba, definitely. But big snakes that they'll tend to avoid. Oh no, something's given them a fright. Now they're heading for the tree line, so I'm just looking up in the air, and they've got to be very careful. The biggest risk for mongoose is most definitely going to be avian predators such as martial eagles. Oh, but let's leave the mongoose for a second, John. It looks like the elephants are about to walk to where the lions were, so they might chase them. Let's get back up there. Let's have a quick look there. The elephants might chase the lions if they get a whiff of it, so hold on, we need to get close quickly. Coming through, Tommy's coming through. Elephants will chase lions if they come into close proximity, especially a breeding herd like this that's got quite a lot of babies. Now sometimes the lions will try slink off first, but it looks like the wind might have been in the lion's favor. Oh, hang on, there's a young bull at the back. That can always change things. No, it looks like the lions survived without being chased. Oh, it was worth a chance. So that elephant herd managed to just sneak past while the lions just didn't move. So there we go, they're the ellies. And they passed within a couple of meters, probably not even more than 5 meters away from the lions. And they do have some little ones there, but obviously, judging from the wind's coming from the elephants towards us and would have been from the elephants towards the lions. So they didn't get chased. Lucky for the lions, because with those fat bellies, they don't want to move too much. There they are. They've all moved into the shade of that termite mound. The 3 females of the Mogoro pride. See, it's always amazing. You never know what's going to happen next to you. And we're watching the mongoose. Suddenly just saw those elephants heading towards the same area. I thought we might see the ellies chase them, but not this time. So let's head back onto our original mission before we got distracted by mongoose, which was to go see if we could find a male lion. Okay, we're going to head now back down towards the Mogoro River and up, and then down east towards the crossings. While we do that, it sounds like Steve's got something with lots and lots and lots of legs.
From mongooses to millipedes, indeed, Brent, we have on this mushroom, and I think he might be going through some psychedelic trip at the moment, because he's curled up in a ball and is just lavishing in this pile of elephant dung. And what we saw before, we were talking about elephant dung and how important they are for the ecosystem. Here is a big pile of elephant dung, and we've got mushrooms coming out of them. I'm not going to eat these mushrooms, because these mushrooms are probably poisonous. I'm not going to break it open either, but if we had to break it open, you'd see underneath would have gills. Generally, you stay away from mushrooms that have gills if you don't want to poison yourself, or if you want to have a psychedelic trip. Must be very careful. But the millipede is what we call a detritivore, which means he feeds on dead and decaying organic matter, and the elephant pile is a big pile of dead and decaying organic matter. And so the fungus, you can see the gills underneath there. Very important to pay attention to that. Don't want to eat a mushroom. Mushrooms are probably one of the most dangerous things to guess. You never know. You never know. But the millipede is curled up in a little bit of a ball. I'm not sure if it's because of the mushroom or if he got a bit of a fright. But a stage fright, you know. He is on live television right now. But he's feeding on organic material. See if I can just free up a little bit for him there. So he's curled up in a ball. A good technique for him to protect his head. His head is just in there, curled up nicely. They don't need to protect their head because they are actually poisonous, but if you lose your head, it doesn't matter if you're poisonous, you are going to die. So there's a nice strategy that they have for protecting themselves against birds. Birds would struggle to swallow that, and to peck at it, the exoskeleton is quite hard. And the colors you can see, it's black with like a contrasting sort of orange color to it, which is indicating poison. And these guys actually contain a form of cyanide inside of them. There are only a few critters out here that are able to eat them. We know scorpions can feed on them, and civets. And it's possible that the civets derive their foul taste as well from the fact that they feed on a huge amount of millipedes every year. But when we're looking at this environment, we're looking at decay, we're looking at decomposition and organic material returning into the soil. Millipedes are probably number 2 after the termites for breaking down organic material in this environment. And if we just scratch around in here, this elephant dung is probably a day or 2 old. See, it's still wet underneath, and there doesn't seem to be too much going on. I don't know where all the insects are this time of year, but normally a pile like this, you can actually see there's little holes in there. It's probably from the endocoprid dung beetles that are burying. Let's see if we can just open this a bit. We don't want to do too much damage to this pile. But actually, here's the spores of the fungus, this white stuff where the fungus is growing in a very nice, humid, moist environment underneath. And they start off as just fine little mycelia there, the white stuff, and then up comes these tubes, or the actual mushroom that you see, and that's where the spores and the reproduction take place. But there's not too much going on there. Very nice, wet environment. And this will slowly but surely over time turn back into soil. And the millipede is instrumental in that, so is the fungus and the termites. But on that note, we're going to just cover it up again. Apologies for the... There we go, that looks about right. So, there was a few questions that came through on Twitter the other day on the difference between rhino dung and elephant dung. And when you look at this dung here, and you scratch through, as I did, let me just do that again, you're going to find bits of stick material like this, bits of grass material like that, lots of grass there, and the color here is a little bit orange. In this time of year, there's a lot of grass, so it's not as orange as in the dry season, but often, especially in the dry season, there'll be a very orangey coat on the outside of the dung. Elephants also defecate wherever they are. They don't have a specific place where they defecate. White rhino dung will be in a midden. If you're not sure what a midden is, it's like a communication post. There's going to be a huge amount of it in one section. And if there are balls on the outside of that, they're going to have a black coating on the outside and only grass inside. When we look at black rhino dung can look identical to this, apart from the fact that you're going to find actually quite a good example. That is grass, but you're going to find sticks that are about that long in black rhino dung. It's going to be a stick, and it's going to be cut at a 45-degree angle. But the color is going to be very similar to elephants, and you're never going to find grass in black rhino dung, and you're never going to find long strips of bark as I just found here. A little bit longer, and it's a strip. Black rhino dung will be about 2 centimeters in length with a very nice sort of 45-degree cut. I haven't seen any black rhino in this area, but it's a nice way to identify the difference. And black rhino dung also is often found in middens. Okay, so we're going to carry on. I know that Herbie's got some stuff up there. Lady Starfire would like to know what I carry in my bag. I have a knife. I have water, first aid kit, a sort of dry bag for keeping my phone and anything that might get wet. Have some pepper spray, because pepper spray is a wonderful way of, if you ever do get into a very, very awkward encounter with elephants, you can spray some pepper spray along the ground and you can move away, and they invariably will not cross that line because of their very sensitive nose. We're not doing it to harm the animal, we're doing it so that we can get away without having to use force, which is quite a nice, easy trick to get away from elephants. What did you see here, my friend? Oh, come have a look at this, folks. Thanks, Herbie. He has spotted a beautiful little arthropod. Can you see him there? Looks like a flower, but it is in fact a praying mantis. A small nymph praying mantis. You can see the bum mimics that of a flower, and he is completely camouflaged. What an amazing sight that was, Herbie. He has got some incredible eyes. And the praying mantis is not a herbivore. It is a predatory insect. And this being a nymph doesn't have any wings yet. When I mean nymph, it means that the individual would have been hatched through an egg, probably on this plant or lower down in the form of an ootheca, an egg-type sac where the praying mantises are basically born and protected. They come out of that little shell casing cocoon-like housing, and then they'll live in very similar environment to the adult, but as a very young one, it is camouflaged, it can't fly, and it is waiting very patiently as a stalk and ambush specialist. And as any small insect comes past with its lightning-quick ninjutsu fingers or hands, it grabs it and then feeds on it. What a marvelous sighting that was. There's a small sicklebush plant that we have here. But how glorious is that little mantis? That must be coming up beautifully on the camera. Wow. The colors are just incredible. He is gorgeous indeed. Can you see the feet moving there, folks?
If you could hold the branch maybe a bit stiff so that it doesn't move in the wind. Yeah.
I'm shaking more than the branch. No, it's not helping.
There we go.
Look at those eyes. The antennae on the head. The abdomen looks just like a flower. This is incredible. I can't identify the species for you, but it is still in the nymph stage. It'll grow through successive sort of metamorphosis stages, not metamorphosis, but sears, where it grows from one stage to the next. It is very camouflaged. Very, very camouflaged. As we know with the leopards you've been seeing this morning, camouflage as a predator is everything. And this guy is patient. I can't say if it's a guy or girl. He or she is just waiting for any unsuspecting victim. Marvelous. Nice work, Seb. Okay, folks, so we're going to leave this beautiful camouflaged praying mantis to do his bidding, and we're We're going to continue on and see what else we manage to locate on our way home. And while we go from one camouflage predator to another, I believe Tristan has got a sleeping predator.
I do indeed. You can see not much has changed here, although, hello Thandi, did you forget we were here, girl? I think she forgot that we were sitting here, and now when I started speaking, she just remembered that we were here. Sorry, my girl, did I wake you up? I'm sorry. And you can see she's just looking at us. Are you sleepy? Shame. I think the cub is somewhere there as well. I saw a bit of movement just now. I can't see exactly where, but there was a bit of movement lying around over there, so I don't know where it's gone from there, but she's just woken up. Like I said, I think she got a fright. She forgot that we were even here. VM and I have been sitting quite quietly. We've been discussing cars, funny enough, and so we've been sort of whispering to each other because we didn't want to disturb her, and I think she just got a little bit of a fright as we started speaking, but she's super chilled now, which is fantastic. It's the best thing, and like I said, this is what I've wanted with this cub and her for quite some time, is to spend a bit of time to the point where she starts to rest and relax like she's doing now. And it's important for going forward with this cub that we get into a situation where we spend long periods and she gets relaxed enough with us, and that the cub realizes that we move around but we're not really a threat in any way. So this morning's sighting is, while it's kind of been a difficult one in that the views of her and the cub have been compromised a few times by thickets, it's been a great one in terms of us getting more trust out of Thandi and the fact that she realizes that we're not a threat to her or her little cub, which is very, very important going forward. So happy days for both VM and I, and well, it's just spending time with Thandi has been fantastic. I've thoroughly enjoyed my last two drives and just kind of relaxing with her and watching her go about things. She actually is a really good mother. She's very attentive to what goes on around her. She constantly is listening. She keeps putting up her head at the slightest sound. If she hears a francolin or she hears a squirrel, she's up and she's looking and making sure that she's on top of her game and doesn't get caught unawares by things like lions and hyenas and other leopards. So it's really good to see, and hopefully she'll continue to be a good mother for this little one, and we'll be able to watch it develop into an adult leopardess at some point into this system. It's also great that she's got a female. It means that between sort of her and Shadow, there's another two girls that will be around, which is always fantastic news, because the more girls we have, the better it is for us. At the end of the day, that means that most of them will stick around and be somewhat in this area. I know, with Shangile, we had high hopes that she would be around, and unfortunately still nothing on her. For those of you that have wondered about what's been going on, there's been absolutely no word, and quite frankly, I think it's going to be a very similar situation to Kruger in that she's just disappeared, and whether we find out what happened to her is debatable. I highly doubt we'll be able to know where she went or what happened and how it kind of went down. So hopefully she does pop up magically somewhere in the Kruger, little Shongile, but it would have been nice for her to stay. But at least, like I say, we've still got the same lineage continuing the bloodline on Djuma and the form of her two eldest daughters, and the fact that both of them have daughters now is always fantastic. So it's still the same lineage. Now, sorry, Louise, if you can just repeat the question. I got the name. So Rictus, I just heard something about a female leopard, but I didn't get the whole question. Does it favor the local leopard population that Thandi's cub is a female? So Rictus, yes, it does. Generally what we find with female leopards is that they will generally hang around very close to the natal territory of their mother. So they normally are on the fringes of where their mother's territory was. Obviously, in a situation like Karula, when she disappeared, Shongile tried to hang on in the area that her mom had previously dominated because she was still so little. Unfortunately, the two older sisters have been eyeing out this territory, and I'm sure they were just waiting for their mom to leave, and they then came in. But normally what you find is that a female will give a section of her territory, and Thandi's a great case for this, because we know that Thandi was dominant from when she first had her first cub, which was Wabayiza. That cub was born in front of Nkoro Lodge in the drainage line there called the Rupapi, and then from there she slowly but surely shifted east with each cub, and her last cub, Tamba, was born on Chitwa, yet now we're seeing that she's on Djuma, and she's sectioned off a little piece for Kuchava, and Kuchava is now on that Cheetah Plains and Nets Chitwa area, and so she's kind of given her cub a start in life and then shifted her territory slightly. And often what we see with the older females is that their territory shrinks as their female offspring start to be born and take over around her, and so you get that situation. And so it's very good for us if there's females, because females obviously then stick around, and all the work that we're doing in trying to relax this cub means that hopefully it will stay in the area and we'll be able to see it. And on top of that, it means that they can then be producing more cubs in their own right. What you don't want is a situation where it's all male cubs, because then it's a struggle to think about where you're going to start seeing females coming from, because females inherently don't move nearly as much as what the males do. So having a lot of female cubs around is very favorable for our leopard population and very good news for us. And that's why we get very excited when we see little females being born, because it generally means we're going to get a little bit more of a spike in our leopard population. Right, our beautiful spotted cat is having a good nap now. I believe Steve, who's not napping and is walking, has found one of the most beautiful flowers that we get out here in the Sabi Sands.
Most beautiful indeed. Thank you, Tristan. We have found for you folks a bushveld violet. Isn't that a beautiful specimen? The purples, very UV sort of light sensory, so you'd assume it would be attracting a nocturnal type of insect. The purpose of flowers is for pollination. I know we love them, but the purpose of them is actually for reproduction, not ornamenting our households, but that's where we've come to. We all love flowers, and this is definitely one of the prettiest you're going to find. Looking at it around, you can actually see a little bit of the leaves have been lightly grazed, or seeing as it's a forb, we could probably say browsed. And we just saw a little steenbok run across the road, and I wouldn't be surprised if with his little mouth he was able to just lightly nibble on here. There's no way that was a zebra or a wildebeest. You'd see much more sort of damage to the plant, but with a small mouth like the steenbok, very, very selective feeding. These small plants are dotted around the place. We're not going to pick any flowers. It's not ideal to pick flowers because the purpose of them is for producing seed. And if we are taking flowers out of the bush wherever we go, we are essentially poaching. So it's best to just leave them where they are. So folks, I'm also coming to you for a little bit of an apology. We had promises of a wonderful tree this morning, but it appears that the route choice we took this morning to find our beautiful speciosa, which is a very similar color to the bushveld violet, has so far been very, very unsuccessful. But we still have this afternoon. We're still able to go out this afternoon. I will find it for you. And here it gives you an indication on the granite soils where we are, where we could find it. And we have checked mid-slope, seaplines, and towards the river, but yet we have not found anything. But yesterday I saw many of these species, and that is why I thought I'd talk about it today. But we have come up empty-handed. But we got another plant that looked quite similar with regards to the coloration. Speciosa, meaning beautiful. But I'll talk more about that beautiful tree this afternoon when we have the vehicle. I think I'm driving this afternoon. Sammy Jane asks if I've ever eaten something in the bush that makes me ill, and I have not yet, because you have to be careful what you eat out here. There's a couple tests that you can do, and the tests are if you pull off a leaf and it shows you a little bit of milky latex, it's best to avoid that plant. If you see monkeys or baboons eating, it's possible you can eat it. If monkeys are eating it, not 100% chance. Generally with baboons, we're often able to eat what they eat. And then you can do, let's try it with this one. Just grab a little leaf here, and you do little, what we call an irritation test. Rub it on your skin. It's not the most sensitive part. If that causes no allergy or reaction, do it somewhere a bit softer. If that causes no reaction, then possibly take it in the mouth. Just, if it's bitter, leave it alone. If it's bitter, we're not going to be able to eat it. And if it's not bitter, it's possibly sweet. You've gone through all these tests, and maybe it's all proving right, then maybe just eat. That actually is quite bitter. Rather leave it alone. But if we pass through all of these and then we still get a flavor that's not bitter, then you can eat a little bit. But don't eat too much, just a little bit, just to give you some nutrition. But you've got to be careful. And we can't just eat everything that we see out here. The bush is filled with chemicals and filled with wonderful things to protect them against browsers and omnivores like ourselves. And while we continue on our long march towards home, Herbie has been wonderful with us this morning. He's been seeing some stuff. He's busy eating a white berry bush. Someone was asking about flavors, and just before we link to Brent and the Masai Mara, I think he has for you a beautiful bird.
They're gone. They flew away. It was straw-tailed whiters again, almost in the exact same spot where I saw them last time. But I don't know what, just, they were sitting there feeding happily, and then all of a sudden, gone. I was hoping one might have stayed behind, but no, I don't think so. Maybe we will find them further along the road again. They tend to like the edge of the road here where they're feeding on little bits of grass seeds and whatnot. There's another grazer next to us here, grazing away, and definitely not as perturbed about the vehicles as some of the other bird species in the Mara. We've got a very hungry Egyptian goose. Now, of course, it's not really a goose. That's just its name. It's a shield duck. Yes, you're not a goose, you're a duck. You're just confused. But he's very aggressively attacking the grass seeds, stripping them off. Oh, followed it with a little drink. One of the most widespread birds in Africa that occur all the way from the Nile River Delta to the southern tip of Africa. Now, the bane of many golf course keepers, as they're grazers, they tend to like golf courses a lot, and it's actually increased their numbers in areas like South Africa. The more golf courses that are put in, the more Egyptian geese that can reside in different areas. So lots and lots in the big city centres in South Africa, and even in Nairobi I've seen them on the golf course as well, but also around. So very adaptable, and always a nice bird. I actually really enjoy them. Quite a nice bird to have around, even though they don't have the best call. They are very pretty and very busy. It seems like the grass has upset this particular goose, the way it's feeding. Now, of course, there's a reason they feed like that. Those small little sort of jerky motions help to pluck the seeds off there. Now, normally in pairs, I don't see the second. It could be not too far away. But while it waddles off, let's go across to Steve, who's got one of the prettiest insects we get in the Lowveld.
Very pretty indeed, from Egyptian goose to rainbow shield bugs. I believe that is what it's called. Here we have one perched beautifully here in a little white berry bush. There he's coming out. Look at those colours. The light isn't even that great here this morning, but look how beautiful he stands out. The oranges and the greens, the little black spots on the back. A little beetle, or bug, as we like to call them. So the question earlier about what can we eat out here, these are berries that I eat on quite a regular basis, and it's the white berry bush. Yes, they are very nice and sweet. They've got almost like a vanilla type of taste to them. But the seeds are quite bitter, so it's best to spit them out, because in large quantities that will probably make you quite ill. You see baboons and monkeys. We even saw francolins the other day plucking these off. So this is the time of year to feed on these, because soon they're all going to be eaten by grey go-away birds, all your fruit-eating birds, and the monkeys. And by Herbie just now, who was munching quite diligently. What a beautiful insect. I hope you're all getting a nice screenshot of that, and we can double check on the ID. Ashwin asks, are there any allelopathic plants on Djuma? It's a good question. For those of you who are not sure what allelopathic means, it's a plant that actually drops leaves onto the ground, and those leaves absorb into the soil and actually prevent any other plant from growing there. I don't know. There are some Mapani somewhere on Djuma. I haven't seen any, but I do believe they do have a chemical that also inhibits the growth of other plants. But it's not a very common thing in the savannah. Savannah more, the seeds and plants are moving away, and it's shade competition that we find here. There are some invasive species around South Africa that have that. The black wattle, which comes from Australia, they definitely have a lot of allelopathic substances to them, but I'm actually not too sure if there's anything else. I wonder if Tristan might know the answer to that, but what I'm thinking is only the Mapani has a potential. Other than that, I don't think there is anything else. Okay, I hope that answers your question. So that's a wonderful sighting. We've definitely got a very good eyesight from Herbie this morning. He's spotting all the beautiful little things. And we have still yet to see the tree wisteria. So while we continue moving on to hopefully the next most beautiful insect or sighting we could find on foot, let's go to Noel with a small update.
Hello, I am so sorry the gremlins attacked us in the middle of our lion sighting. I will promise I'll put some photos up later on the Instagram so you guys see. But we did get that wonderful collection of the whole pride coming around the vehicle, and we did get to see at least 3 of the Birmingham males as well. I never saw the 4th one pop up. So what they did while we were busy trying to sort out our gremlins, is the 3 males sat on the termite mound, and then all the females and the cubs sat on the other termite mound, and we were busy trying to move as best we could so that you guys could see what we were seeing, but unfortunately the feed just decided that it wasn't meant to be. So that means this afternoon we'll probably go back to see them again. It's going to be my this afternoon, so I might just a little bit of breakup as we go through. There's no hunting or anything like that. One and was watching it, and then decided that maybe that elephant wasn't something it could eat in the small little space that it owns. Although that being said, several years ago on the property I worked at, I was sitting with a pride similar to the makeup of the Styx pride, and a young cub about 6 months old decided that this huge journey of giraffe that was crossing the airstrip was something he wanted to hunt, and he stood up from the pride and just ran straight down the airstrip towards these giraffe. The giraffe stopped and looked at them like, I know you're a lion, but you're a tiny little lion, and what are you doing? And the mom was calling, arr, arr, like, come back, and this cub just goes, and then he tried to jump at one, and the giraffe just looked at him like, what are you doing? And then he realized that this wasn't for him and sat down and then laid down and watched them. And I think Mom called for a good 5 to 10 minutes before he finally went, fine, I'm coming. I can't get my giraffes. They are full of beans when they're that small. So I do hope you managed to get some excellent screenshots, Lou, in my ear that you did manage. And then we hold them. This afternoon, the gremlins don't attack us. Let's head on up to Brent. I believe Lucis has lions of his own, which is fantastic. Maybe they'll also find some cheetah in the Mara today, and then we'll have our trifecta of cats for the morning. So enjoy that visual all the way up in Kenya, and we'll see you all shortly.
There we go. Lazy Mogoro lions lying in the same spot as earlier, and I think they're probably going to be here for the whole day. There's water close by, there's shade close by, so a good spot to be. I can hear an ostrich calling. Can you hear an ostrich calling, Jandre? So sometimes an ostrich call can be quite confusing. It sounds a little bit like a lion. So there's ooh, 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 ooh. So it can sound like a bit like a lion, but it sounds like there's an ostrich calling somewhere behind us. I can't see it, There's another big herd of ellies up in the distance there, walking across the plains, heading towards the river. And taupe males running around, chasing each other, trying to be the most impressive for the ladies. Isn't that gorgeous? You can see the Balanites belt in the background as you head towards the escarpment, so a few more trees in that area, and then you've got this big open Ojapata swamp area that the elephants are crossing at the moment on their way down to the Mara River. Beautiful! Just listening to a few of the birds calling. Yeah, some boo-boos, robin chats, weavers, cisticulars. Wonderful. Now, as I said, I don't think these lions are going to get up to too much more, so hopefully we can find some more interesting things on our way back up to the north. We did a quick look around the crossings, no sign of any of the males, but I heard elephants trumpeting in the bushes here, and I think maybe the males might be sleeping somewhere in the thickets. And let's have one last look at these lazy lions. Very lazy kitties. So one last look at the lazy Magoros before we move on. And while we move on, it sounds like Rolf is about to cross the river.
Thanks, Brent. And yes, from lazy lions to the hippos and crocodiles here on the Mara River. Look at that very big crocodile just lying on the bank on the shores of the Mara River with the lapwings calling just nearby. A wonderful scene here with the river coming down through the rocks, and we've got a multitude of birds running around the bank, lots of tracks from the hippos. That's all the soil that's been turned over there. That is from the hippos coming in and out. And they do make it look like it's been prepared, ready for sowing seeds in a field. And you can very often have bush pigs which turn the soil over like that as well, looking for roots and bulbs, but this is all down to the comings and goings of the very big hippos that we're seeing over there. And they're all just bobbing up and down, taking their breaths of air and then going underneath again. It's quite cool today, so it's quite possible we might even see one or two of them out of the water grazing, but maybe all of these have done what they needed to do last night. And quite a big pod of them here near to the rocks. I think it's quite a deepish pool that they all congregate in, because if it's shallow, then they do end up being a bit exposed. So this pool just below the rapids, you very often have big pools forming below rapids and faster flowing water areas. And this would probably be dominated by one territorial bull. And this is probably quite prime space. And this is one of the crossing areas. And so maybe that also helps with a lot of the wildebeest and zebra moving through. Maybe also helps to cut through a little bit deeper the river area. But the hippos do, once they establish themselves in a little pool, they do maintain it quite deep. And once again, where we got stuck in that laga, I'm pretty sure that there was a hippo wallowing in there, also making it very deep and round inside the pool. So please don't forget to send your questions through on the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, because we'd love for you to be involved. What do you want to know, or what do you want to comment about hippos and crocodiles, or the Mara River Yeah, it's a wonderful scene that we have here, and I think from here we're going to be continuing along the river a little bit. Maybe we bump into 1 or 2 lions along the way. Who knows? Maybe we'll be lucky and get another leopard. Sometimes it goes like that. I didn't see leopard for 4 years of guiding, and in one day I saw 3. So that's the way it works, eh? And I haven't seen any leopard here in the Mara. First one being this morning, and what a beauty she was. But I think we're going to start up and move on shortly now. We're going to leave these hippos here. Now, David, just before we leave, you want to know if we can see a baby hippo within this pod, because Taylor saw one the other day. Well, let's have a look, David. I didn't see one when we first stopped. I was actually looking to see if there were any youngsters, but yes, there looks like there may be a young one, but I don't know if it's a tiny baby. It is definitely younger than the rest, but they are being a little bit secretive this morning, almost like Scuba Steve. They're not showing themselves particularly well, so it's not always easy to see. There you can see 1 or 2 little nostrils just keeping their breathing activity complete. Oh, there looks like there might be a youngster. Not sure. Sometimes you just see a little bit of them, or their nostrils, and then you think it might be a young one, but then the whole head comes up and you are mistaken. So, David, I haven't seen a young one, but I'm sure there could be, with the amount of hippos that there are here. I'm sure there would at least be 1 or 2 youngsters. You see the females there with a pink around their eyes. You see, I thought that might have been a young one, but that was just the nostrils of another big one. So, speaking of youngsters, we don't seem to be seeing any here, but we have a solution to that. Ooh, hello, here he is. There's a little youngster. There's a youngster there. Sorry, we'll just wait for him to pop up, David, just for you, because you did ask to see one, and we've just managed to find one now. So we'll just wait for him to pop up, and then we'll have a quick look at him. We need to be quick, because maybe he'll take his breath of air and off he goes back down again. And there's mommy, I think. Let's wait for baby. Oh, we've got lots of them popping up now. Is that him there? Yes, there we go. It's not a tiny baby, but quite a youngster at that. So, David, there you go. Not tiny, but we found a youngster for you. I'm sure there would have been. But, so, from one little baby hippo over to some other little babies, off to Noel.
We have had a plethora of babies today. Baby zebra, baby leopard, baby lion, baby hippo, and now we've got baby wildebeest, and all looking very good. I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which I believe was the count when I went on leave. So it doesn't seem as if anyone else has dropped or is going to drop, but you never know. There might be a little bit of what we call a lot lamaki, a late lamb, a late baby. Now, most of them still have their umbilical cords left. This one on the right-hand side, you can see the umbilical cord still stuck there. Now, with something like a giraffe, that umbilical cord will stay up to about 2 months, depending. And with the wildebeest, what I've noticed in my experience is that they usually fall off in the first couple of weeks completely. So there are a couple of the ones that were born earlier in the year, most likely the ones that Scott and Tristan saw live on camera, which was absolutely fantastic, and then the rest of them are just a little bit later in development. So now notice the difference in the colors with these babies compared with the adults. For me, it has a lot to do with the fact that not always, but in areas like in the Mara where it's a lot more open, these little ones will have to lie down in the grass, and it helps them blend in slightly. And then as they get older, obviously developing their adult colors there. And that brindling as well. Notice how the little ones don't quite have any brindling showing through. Now, earlier when we came up, they were busy lying down and ruminating, chests up, so they've got 4 chambers to the stomach. And they process their food that way, as opposed to the zebra we saw earlier, which are hindgut fermentation, which use a lot of bacteria, similar to an elephant. Now, just in front of us, we have a wildebeest that's busy scent marking. Just duck for my hat. There we go. So rolled down on the side here, and is busy rolling the side of its body. There we are. Now notice it's not rolling all the way over. It actually can't, the way that the spine is formed. And then sometimes they'll get down on their knees and then using their horns. Sorry, Lou, I missed there. Did you say you saw this earlier?
Steve demonstrated.
Oh, Steve demonstrated it. I love that Steve demonstrated for you earlier. That's fantastic. Well, now you can see the wildebeest doing it as opposed to just Steve doing it. They'll also urinate and sometimes defecate as well, getting all of their scent mixed in. And now you'll notice this is on the side of the road, so a lot of the times what you're seeing specifically with wildebeest is their territorial boundary markers will be roads. There we are, defecating for you, just to make sure that all of its scent is everywhere. Now, everybody over on the left-hand side has started to lie down again, and they're going to have a rest. It's not cold, but it's not hot. It's a decent temperature. But for them, it's going to be a little bit warmer than it is for us. And so part of this is resting during the heat of the day, conserving energy. And that's another reason why they have the 4 chambers to the stomach, is so that they can get as much nutrition out of the food that they're eating as possible, which means that they don't have to put as much energy into finding food as something like an elephant, which, even though it's a hindgut fermenter like a zebra, doesn't process food in the same way. All right. So that is it for us from Djuma. The Mara is still going to go for another little while. So thank you so much for the morning. It was an amazing morning. So I think let's head on up so that you can carry on with your virtual safari, and we will see you all this afternoon. Enjoy Brent and whatever it is that he has in surprise for you up there in Kenya.
Hello, hello. Well, look what we found as we are on our way back to the north. We found a car coming south, and I think it's Jamie and Steph. Indeed, it is coming, Jamie and Steph in Chitwa. Here we go. Hello, hello. There we go.
Thank you very much.
There you go. A charger for Jamie. So there we go. There's some lions just down the road with some elephants. That's about it.
I'm just taking a step on the head round.
There we go. There we go. Elocution. There we go. Steph's testing Jamie's elocution. That could be quite interesting.
Could be an interesting ride.
Yes. Well, good luck, guys. We're going to continue on. No sign of Angamas.
I'm just going to car off.
Oh yes, it's a nice. Oh, the key broke inside.
Yeah.
Oh dear. It's a good thing it's a Land Rover, an old one. Okay, guys. Yeah, you too.
A long way to go.
Bye.
Later. Bye.
So Jamie and Steph are on their way to a meeting on the other side of the river. So yeah, that's where they're off to. And we are heading back towards the Olololo escarpment, or the Syria escarpment, depending on who you chat to. Now, this area here is the area where we see the Mara River Pride from time to time. Yeah. But one of my favorite spots at the moment in this little section has been a little marshy area. I know Taylor's also spent quite a bit of time there, and sorry, dust. And there's been incredible water birds feeding. And I'm going to have a look, see if there's any nice herons or egrets, and there's the occasional widow birds around as well. I think we got the one great white egret yesterday must have killed 3 different little fishies or frogs. We couldn't really see what they were in the space of about 5 minutes, while the grey heron got nothing in that same period. And And alas, it looks like there's no water birds feeding in the little marsh today. Well, it sounds like a lot of you are happy to see Jamie. Yep, she is around, but she is only on drive on Monday. She'll be back on drive. So, no water birds today in our little swamp, but we do have some widow birds. They can be quite tricky. You see the one with the red shoulder there, Jean-Andre? Oh, there we go. Oh, there we go. It's keeping still. Aha. Now there's a nice one for our birders. See if you can figure out which of the widow birds that is. Remember, white bill, red shoulder. Hashtag Safari Live if you know which bird it is. Look at that, isn't that pretty? So it's got two sort of different colors of red on there. It's got orange and a sort of a really deep red. So it is a very distinct species that we get in this part of the Mara. And, oh, has it disappeared? Oh no, he's hiding there. Off they go. And the males flutter about like that, and they fly quite slowly and quite prominently as a display to try and impress all the ladies. There we go, look at him puffing his shoulders out. Look how red my shoulders are. Oh, I'm causing a traffic jam again. Let me just move off the road slightly. Now, let's have a look if we can see any other widows here. Very careful, you don't want to go too far off the road here because it's muddy. Okay, so I can't see any other widows, just that one species. And let's have a look around. I think Chandra found him again. Yeah, a little bit to the right, Chandra. Oh, Joey in Australia, you are spot on indeed. It is the fan-tailed widow bird. Well done, Joey. There's one sitting out in the open here on top of that bush to the right, a bit closer to us, Chandra. There we go. Good spot there. There we go. So the very bright red up top with a sort of more burnt amber orangish below, the fan-tailed widow bird. Well done, Joey. And let's carry on. Sometimes we get red-collared here, yellow-mantled, and yellow bishop. But I think it was Joey who wanted to see yellow bishop a few days ago. And since then, I mean, I was seeing them almost every day before, and now since I started looking for them, they've just vanished. But I'm sure we will find one at some point in the future. You get red-collared around this area and this long grass as well. But Toomey is wondering, why are they called widow birds? Well, that's a good question. I guess it's probably because they're always dressed in black. It's probably my best guess there. They always seem to be dressed in black, although some of them have some bright colours on the black. I'll have to research that. But I think it's probably because they are dressed in black. Like Johnny Cash. Okay, so let's see what other wonders are around. Now, sometimes we see martial eagle in this area. But while we carry on, it sounds like Ralph has found some big bovids. And we're just watching a small herd of buffalo moving through the plains. Always nice to just sit with them as well. I've got a big affinity for buffalo, and mainly because of the time I've spent on foot in the northern parts of Kruger National Park, up in that Pafuri region, or the Makuleki, as we see the Olololo escarpment there in the background overlooking this herd of buffalo.
Now, the reason why I say that is because I've spent a lot of time actually trying to not get trampled by buffalo up there. And it's one of the times that I've actually told one of my trails groups, it was actually a group of students learning to walk in those kind of areas, to run, because we were walking in a mopani thicket, and we knew that there were some buffalo in the area because there were some fresh tracks and dung, and we were walking along this, trying to be as quiet and careful as possible, and trying to get through the thicket as quickly as possible as well, because there's not very much visibility. And so it can be a little bit daunting. And while we were in the thicket, we did feel that the wind was swirling a little bit as we were walking into the wind, but then it started to swirl a bit, and I think the herd of buffalo in front of us got the wind of us, but from the opposite side. So this entire herd of buffalo started stampeding towards us, and all we heard was their hooves and almost like the ground shaking as the noise got louder. And I just said to the group, run, follow me, but run. And so we ran off to the side and watched this herd of buffalo seemingly running away from us directly towards us, but then they landed up going just past and off our side, and luckily we were able to get to safety. But I've had a few incidents like that with buffalo, and I have a very close feeling towards them because of that. I think I've been in quite a few near-death situations, but sometimes that does make you feel a little bit closer to an animal like that. So they can be quite scary, but they can also be very relaxed and tranquil like they are now, just feeding along through the plains, and they don't really look like they could do much damage to you in the way that it almost seems like it's difficult for them to even walk sometimes, especially the older bulls, but when they want to get going, they do move and they cover ground very quickly. And remember, when they walk in herds like this, they're always in some kind of, it looks like it's haphazard, but there will always be a very quick formation if there's any predators around, and the big bulls will be on the outskirts and bringing all the females and the youngsters onto the inside. So there is a little bit of method in their madness, and we have been seeing quite a few European bee-eaters flying around, but it is very difficult to actually find one and stick with him. Now, the Ravenlock, you saying that you like the buffaloes because they like taking care of each other when they get attacked by predators. Well, exactly, they do. And there's a very big herd mentality, and I'm sure you've seen from a lot of videos and documentaries that sometimes even the lions come off second best, and it's not always a done deal that if a lion gets hold of a buffalo and the rest of the herd runs off, that it's game over for the buffalo, and they can very easily stand their ground on their own, and very often those bulls rally and they return to come and help one of their members. So it can be that they return to get rid of the lions, and they are extremely resilient. So even sometimes you see they've got quite open and gaping wounds, but within a couple of weeks they're closed up and healing up nicely. It's incredible how they do survive big wounds from lions and all sorts of predators. But it is also known that even hyena can start to hunt buffalo, and if you've got a lot of hyena that can separate one off of the group, and then they chase it until it becomes extremely exhausted, and then they can come in and start to feed on it. Remember, hyenas not the best killers in the world, but they are extremely good hunters. They won't kill the animal, they will start to feed on it alive. So they're not like the cats where they go for the throat, they just get in and start eating. Much like the wild dogs do sometimes. Obviously wild dogs not after such big prey, but even with them, sometimes you see those impala getting pulled into pieces. But that's all eventually down to them just trying to survive themselves. But luckily we have our natural painkiller, and I believe that adrenaline allows those animals, even though they are getting pulled to pieces, a relative amount of pain relief from the adrenaline, and I don't think that they do feel too much pain. I think they know the seriousness of the situation, and that's probably a lot of what the squealing and moaning is about. But I do think that the adrenaline helps to make it not so painful. Right. I think we're going to continue along down the road. We are going to be heading towards the marsh, so maybe we'll spot some lions, but I think it doesn't matter what happens now. After having had that leopard, my day is made. Now, David, you're saying that buffalo seem to have like a police escort, so they've got nothing to worry about. Absolutely, David. They do need to keep up that kind of bull escort with them, because there's at any time they could be attacked by predators, so they do need to have their wits about them. And they do need to keep up that formation, and obviously through evolution that's the way that they've survived through the ages. And I think they're probably their biggest predator through that being lions, but hyenas probably very close second. So we're heading on now towards the marshy area, with the plains on our left-hand side, and obviously the Olololo escarpment off to our sort of northwest. And just to give you an idea of where we are. Now here just in front of us, as he misses, we've got some more of these European bee-eaters flying around, and they're for me also one of the lovely summer calls that we have. Also down in the Greater Kruger National Park, they also visit there, and they've got that grr, 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 but you often hear it very high, and sometimes so high that you can't even see them. But that with the woodland kingfisher, the dropping of the impala and the European bee-eaters, as well as the masked weavers, like I was saying the other day, all very much sounds of summer. Lovely calls. It just gives that very warm feeling inside of spring and outdoors and camping and fires and mosquito bites, all the rest, and sunscreen. Alright folks, while we make our way up towards the marsh and see if we can find any lions there, let's head you on over to Brent, who I believe is near to the escarpment.
Well, I'm not quite sure what Rolf was saying there. I didn't quite catch the end of that, but we are always on the lookout for big cats. You never know whether the Angama pride will be around here. Yes, I am heading towards the escarpment. That is correct. So we are heading towards the escarpment. I'm going to do a little deviation though to see if we get any luck on the way towards the escarpment. I'm going to head down towards the Sheni forest, and maybe we'll find some stuff, ellies or lions or whatnot coming out of that forest, or we might get lucky with some nice birds. But as you can see here, where the road is quite low, banks are high, grass is high, it can be a little bit challenging to spot stuff from up here, and in not too long this grass is going to be able to hide a whole buffalo or a whole hippo. What do I spot towards the escarpment? I see some giraffe in the distance, so let's get a bit closer. Whoops! There we go. Up and down. This road is one of those roads that, when it rains heavily, turns into a raging torrent of a river rather than a road. So it has a few funny bumpy spots. It's always a good spot for the Angama pride. They like to lie under these balanites in the long grass, hope for a warthog to arrive. A big thank you to Getting Lost, a brand new viewer. Well, welcome to the Safari Live family. Says the world is truly beautiful and the guides are fantastic. Well, thank you very much. We can't forget to thank our fantastic cameramen as well, who bring you those incredible images, and the lovely ladies and people sitting in FC and in tech team, making sure we are able to bring you these beautiful images from 2 different countries and my favorite continent, Africa. There we go. Are those giraffe staring at something, or they're just lounging about? Here we go. Have you spotted something? So when you see a giraffe staring like that, giraffe are very good at spotting predators. I'm just trying to see if she moves her, it loses her attention. And yeah, no, maybe not. So when she spots a lion or a leopard or something, she just locks in on it. Let's get a bit closer. We might be able to see if there is something there. But often they'll spot small antelope like an oribi or even a warthog moving through the grass, and they'll keep checking to make sure it's not a predator until they're 100% confident it's not something that's going to do them any damage. Now, in that area, it could be lions, could also very easily be leopard up against the edge of that forest. Oh, it's a rhino. And it just, it looks like a rhino. Is it a rhino or is it a buffalo? It's a rhino. There we go. A black rhino. And I said the grass is going to be high enough to hide a buffalo. Oh, he's going to have a sit down. Oh, disappearing rhino. Oh, there might be a mud wallow in there. Let's try. I might go see if we can get around and have a closer look. So there we go, black rhino. That's so exciting. I love seeing rhino. And the one giraffe is staring at the rhino in the grass. The other giraffe is still staring up there. So I'm going to do a loop to check rhino and to check if there's a cat in the trees that the giraffe is staring at. Now there could be a muddy puddle that rhino's found there and is going to have a wallow in it. While we go try see what that giraffe has spotted or get a good view of the rhino, let's go to Rolf, who I'm sure has found the Mokoro pride on his way home.
Thank you, Brent. We were actually just debating which group of lions this might be, and I'm wondering if you've already had a look at these via Brent earlier this morning, but well, we couldn't just pass up the opportunity as we've spotted these lions next to the road, or lionesses to be precise, and there's 3 of them here, but they seem to be very comfortable, especially that it's quite cool, there's a bit of a breeze, and there's not particularly many flies around, which is always a bit of an irritation to the lions. And when they're trying to sleep, they've got to flick their ears and swat their tails. This one's sitting up a little bit, panting. I wonder if she's had something to eat or not, but they all seem quite dozy and snoozy. It's still nice for us to see them, being back here in the Mara Triangle, just near to the river. We're not far from there. And we're not far from the buffalo that we were just watching as well. But these don't look like hunting lions. Now, Ravinda, you're wondering what happens if two different prides of lions meet. Well, it can often result in conflict, Ravinda, and that conflict can be quite vicious between prides, because obviously they're fighting for space, they're fighting for resources in terms of water and prey species. And so I think here in the Mara at this time of year is when you will have a little bit more conflict, because the resources are a lot less than, for instance, with the migration, where it's almost like taking lollipops out of a tree, and where there's so much food around, it goes from that to a lot less in a very short space of time. So the lions then might go looking a little bit further afield for food and resources, and that's when they might come across other lions' territories. And it can be a fight to the death, or it can be quite quick, that whichever one has entered into the other's territory, they turn around and return to theirs, and so then it's a little bit of conflict, but not too much. But it can be savage and end in death. But it doesn't seem like we're going to be looking at too much conflict here for the time being. But if they had have moved into another territory, it can quite easily happen quite quickly. But we've got some of the roads people approaching, so don't be afraid when you hear the tractor noise. And they are hard at work, a very important work that they do indeed, making sure. And the lions might just get up now, just so that you know, the conservation team and their guys, there they go. Hi guys. Our mystic Q-tip, you want to know if lions ever take a bath, and that female there looking quite fat, I'm sure they've eaten. And Mystic Q-tip, they don't take a bath as we would per se, but you know how cats clean themselves? They do lick and bath themselves in the real cat way. And these look like very big bellies here. I'm sure they've eaten just a little while ago, and that's very nice to see that they're so full. I wonder what they ate. So they're not as scared of water as a lot of people believe. Not like your domestic house cat, which is absolutely terrified. But it all depends on the individual cat. Some of them not so bad, but in general they are. But I've seen lions, especially when it's hot, actually go and lie in the water and sleep in the water. So it's not such well, it is a little bit of a fallacy that they're all extremely scared of water. I've seen it happen quite a lot, that they're lying in the water sleeping. But while we watch these lions now take up a new position and sleep, let's head on over to Brent with his black rhino.
Here we go. We found the rhino again from a bit closer. There are actually two. The one is still lying down in the grass. We can't even make it out, just to the left of that guy. Now, it's very difficult to see male or female when they're there. We can just make out an ear there in the long grass. Or was it? Yes, it's in the ear. There you go, flicking of the ears. So I thought they might be having a mud wallow. They're not. I think they're just having a good old snooze in the grass. You can see an oxpecker. Oh, a red-billed oxpecker. We definitely see more yellow-billed oxpeckers here, so nice to see a red-billed oxpecker. There we go. He's giving us the look. Hello, rhinoceros. Very distinct left ear. And you can see a big tear down the middle and a notch out of the bottom right of that left ear. And then two notches out of the right ear. And that's how you ID rhinos generally, is from ear notches and ear tears. I see lots of flies around bothering the poor rhino. And you can see how the ears are actually facing directly towards us. So he's listening to what I have to say. Especially with this long grass, you can see the eye level is below the grass. You can see how it tries to lift, to smell and listen to us. But it'll be relying mostly on its ears. Grumpy. They can be very grumpy, but I think these guys are just fine. So what a wonderful way to come towards the end of the safari. Leopards, plenty of leopards this morning, both in South Africa and in Kenya, which is always a treat, as well as lions, elephants, rhino and buffalo. Did we just complete a Big 5 drive? I think we did. Well, isn't that exciting? A Big 5 drive, and this rhino is still listening to every word we say. Well, I say. Hey, it lost its oxpecker. Probably popped onto the other rhino. No, we're not. As I said, we're not going to get any closer here. We don't want to disturb them. I'm pretty sure that it's going to lie down and snooze next to the other one shortly. And we're going to make our way up to the top of the escarpment. Hopefully the flies don't bother the rhino too much. Here we go. It looks like it's going to go lie down. Going towards where the other one was. And for those of you at home, it's time for a snooze. The rhino is going to have a snooze, and we'll see you in a few short hours for the sunset safari. Goodbye.